Very good. Good evening, Viking parents, students, and families, and welcome to, I'm pretty sure, our first virtual registration. Not our first webinar, but we are here tonight for our Lake Stevens High School registration. Yes, if you can't believe it, for the school year of 2021-2022. Thank you for joining us, and we are here to welcome you to our registration webinar, which will include a question and answer session at the end of our evening tonight. I do want to start by explaining the purpose of tonight. Tonight is an overview forum to offer essentially insights and details to be hopefully as helpful as possible as it relates to high school registration, again, for the year 2021 and 2022. We do have several of our team members here on the panel tonight, so I'm going to let them introduce themselves and their role here at the school, and I will let them do that at this time. So joining me, let's start with Dan.
Hi folks, I'm Dan Alderson. I'm one of the associate principals at the high school. First time I'm wearing a tie in forever.
Thank you, Dan. Amy.
Hi, my name is Amy Wickland. I'm one of the counselors. If your student's a 2022 student, I have them H through L last name, and 2023 is I through M.
Thank you, Amy. Angela.
Hi, everybody. I'm Angela Ridley, and I'm one of the counselors at LSHS. And if your last name is A through C, I'm your counselor.
Very nice. Thank you, Angela. Mr. Hernandez.
Hello, guys. Sal Hernandez here, aka Mr. T. I'm one of the counselors here at Lake Stevens High School. So for your students that with letters M through R, the class of 2022, and the class for 2023 is the letters N through SK.
Thank you, Sal. Miss Hay.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Deborah Hay. I'm one of the associate principals here. I work with the math department and the special education department supporting students with IEPs. And then I support Miss Ridley and Miss Chilson with their alphabet. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you. And new to our Viking team, but not to the field of counseling education, Stephanie.
Good evening, I'm Stephanie Lewis. I'm the newest member of the counseling team here at Lake Stevens High School. If your student is graduating class of 2023, then I have last name T through Z. For the class of 2022, I have last name S through Z. So I'm at the end of the alphabet, excited to hopefully meet some of you guys for real soon.
Very nice. And Miss LaFortune.
Hi, my name is Kim LaFortune, and I'm the career guidance specialist at the high school, helping your students get to wherever it is that they want to go after graduation.
Very good. Chilson.
Hi, I'm Emily Chilson, another one of the school counselors. For the class of 2022, I have students with last names D through G, and for 2023, I have D through H. Thanks so much for joining us.
And Dan, number 2.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dan Tidor, and I am the Career and Technical Education Director for Lake Stevens School District. Definitely excited to be here and oversee CTE programs.
And Tanya.
Good morning, or good morning, sorry, there we go. Good evening, everybody. I'm Tanya Grindy, Associate Principal, and I work with the English department as well as primarily with Miss Wickland, but also catch a little bit of Miss Chilson and Mr. Hernandez's alphabet also.
Thank you. Nikes.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Kim Nikes, and I'm the Dean of Students. Good to see everybody sort of in a list.
And Mr. Pearson.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Jason Pearson, Associate Principal Athletic Director, and I oversee the PE department, the Fine Arts department, and the World Language department.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. And my name is Leslie Ivilia, and I get to be the proud team member of this amazing group of people here, as well as our 1900 Vikings. My name is Leslie, and I am the principal here at Lake Stevens High School. So this evening, we're pretty excited. We also have a few nerves, and we don't expect this to be without a few bumps in the road, but we're really grateful for your patience and your forgiveness and your grace. We're going to start tonight by presenting some information that we feel is helpful to all of our attendees. And to make sure that we're attending to all of the questions, we're going to present all of the information at the start, and then we will answer questions in both a live and a written format at the end of the evening when we prompt you to enter your questions. So please listen real quickly. We're going to start with counselors who will be sharing some very important information, kind of an overview and overarching concepts. Please, as you're listening, if questions do come to mind, instead of putting them in the Q&A session at this time, we'll just ask for you to jot them on a piece of paper, or if you're like myself, I text myself during meetings so that I can go back and remember what they are. We anticipate answering many of the questions during our presentation, but for those that we need to share again or that possibly didn't get answered, we will give you time at the end to type your questions in the Q&A when prompted. So just real quickly, if you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a little bubble and it says Q&A. That will be the place that we will enter questions. And again, I will prompt you. We won't be tending to those questions during the registration presentation. We will do that at the end. So before I go into the logistics just a little bit further, I want to pause a moment to make sure that you get acclimated with your screen, and also recognize that in just a few minutes, we'll be sharing some screen information. As I shared, we are recording this evening, so that can be something you go back to. But if during the presentation you're working from one screen, you can click the image of the person that is overlaid on the material and move it and drag it so that it doesn't block the information that is being presented. Again, we anticipate covering a lot of information this evening in kind of an overview presentation. We will then take a pause and give you an opportunity to add questions to the Q&A spot. We will then spend the time answering those questions both in live format, and that's where we will do some tag team sharing. And then we also will be able to answer some of those in a written format where we will use the Q&A box to answer. So just a few more important details before we get started. Again, our event tonight is intended to answer those global questions as it relates to registration here at the high school. However, if your student has individual questions that are specific to their schedule, it is probably best that they work directly with their counselor to get those answers. Our counselors are very available this year electronically or by phone, and they also at the bottom of their email have a place that you can set up live session meetings with them. Let's see, we are going to, as I said, talk about the Q&A at the bottom. And if we don't see that you've put it up and we think of it, we will answer additional questions. And finally, one other additional resource is to reach out not only to your student's counselor, but as those shared tonight, the associate principals are paired with the counselor by last name alpha as well. And we're always here working as a team to collaborate and be there as a resource. So again, we have about 123 people on screen tonight. We're very excited. As Stephanie said, we're looking forward to meet many of you by face. This feels informal in many ways, but it's the formal process that we could provide this year in hopes that we answer and alleviate any concerns. Last, before I hand this over to Angela, I just wanted to let you know, or Sel, I'm not sure which is getting ready here. Wanted to let you know we did have a few glitches today when it came to registration, but our counselors worked together and offered an additional session. And I will be sending out an email tonight so that you have a presentation of these slides, as well as the material that they're giving tonight will be recorded. And we will be back on screen tomorrow with our kids. So many opportunities for us to do the best we can to alleviate any fears or frustrations for your Viking. Thank you so much, and I'll let it go at this time.
Thank you, Leslie. So we'll get us started over here, so because I know we have a lot to cover. So what we share with our students, with you students, we share 4 steps that they needed to complete the registration process. These steps are, the first one they had to do is review the LSHS graduation requirements, where they can go into Skyward and look that up. Number 2 was to determine what credits they still need. Number 3, they also have to update their high school and beyond plan. And number 4 was to register for the appropriate classes on both the Google form that we send out and in Skyward. Those 2 places, we told your students that it was very important for them to do both. Just to remember and to remind you that the deadline for registration is Friday, February 19th.
Thank you, Sal. And before I hand this to the next person, I'm going to let them take it and run. I wanted to also acknowledge that February 19th is an extended couple of days. I think our first communication was the 17th. So you can see that we're already working to be flexible as a result of today. So thank you so much, Sal.
Thank you.
Angela, go ahead and turn your mic off and on. one of the things about sharing a screen is you lose a little bit of sight on being able to see those technology tools. So let Angela get her
Thank
mic
you.
on and share.
This morning I started sharing to your children without sharing the slideshow. So, it's hit or miss. Okay, so actually I'm just going to skip over to, nope, this one. Oh my goodness, you guys. I apologize. The menu for my share is hiding the tab I need right now. So, okay, that's all right. I'm going to roll with it, and we're just going to look at it small, and we're just going to have to live with that.
Angela, you should be able to grab that sharing menu and drag it somewhere if you'd like.
Right, and in trying to do that, I X'd it out and would have to go back in and find it again. So, whoops. So I'm just going to talk. The other one is fine. So this one will be a little bit small, but the next one will be large. So basically what we told your students today, and what I'm going to share with you right now, is there's two different ways you can look at graduation requirements and where your student is in this process. So first and foremost, we need 24 credits to graduate from Lake Stevens High School. And the breakdown for that is to have 4 credits or 4 years of English. So English every year until you graduate is kind of our rule. And 3 credits in social studies. So what that looks like is for 10th grade, Modern World History or AP Euro. For 11th grade, US History or AP US History. And then for 12th grade would be Civics and CWI or AP Government and Politics. So there are other classes offered through our social studies department, but they do not count for the social studies requirement for graduation. They're just elective classes like psychology, sociology. Those are electives. They won't fulfill that 3 credit social studies requirement. And then 3 credits of math or 3 years of math. So for most students, that's going to look like algebra, geometry, and then second year algebra. We do encourage a 4th year of math, especially if students are preparing to go off to university or college or really any post-high school education. They really should be taking math their senior year. We do have a number of different classes. If you're not looking for a college prep math, you could do personal finance and management. Maybe your student is just planning to get a job and maybe give it some time before they think about what their next step is. So that personal finance class could be really helpful senior year as a math class, just to keep things fresh. And then 3 years of science. So what that looks like is 9th grade physical science, 10th grade, they can do CCP or chemistry. And then 11th grade, they do biology. I understand some of your students might be accelerated and might be doing a different path through science. Maybe they did the physical science in 8th grade and they're already working in biology or chemistry this year. I do want to stress that CCP and chemistry they do meet the same requirement, and colleges do view them pretty much the same way. So you wouldn't ever take both of them, but depending on how you did in 9th grade, we might recommend that your student take chemistry. That would be for this year. I think that's kind of already happening, but if your student wants to take chemistry and isn't sure about it, they can contact their counselor. And then 2 credits of health and fitness. So the boil down with that is 0.5 of that 2 credits is health, and then 1.5 is PE. So most students took health, a semester of health and a semester of PE in 9th grade. And then by the time they come up to our campus in 10th grade, they still need 2 more semesters or 1.0 credits in PE. We recommend they do that during sophomore year. Some students delay it until junior or senior year. As long as they get that 1.0 credit to complete their 2.0 requirement, we're good. And then for CTE, Career Tech Ed, they need 1 credit there. Most students are going to take more than 1 credit because our CTE program is super fun, and that's where the hands-on classes live, like culinary, video, photography, engineering classes, child development, that kind of stuff. So super fun things to take there. You only need 1 credit. Again, we hope you take more. And then the 2 credits for fine arts and 2 credits for world language. I want you to pay close attention to this here because there is an or. So it's either or for these 2 sections. You can take 2 credits of fine art and 2 credits of world language and be fine. You could also take 1 credit of fine art and 3 personal pathway requirements and be fine. So the bottom line is you really only need 1 fine art credit to graduate from Lake Stevens High School. Those other 3 credits, whether it's 2 world language, 3 world language, or 3 personal pathway credits. Maybe your student's going to go to Snow Owl, and that's 3 personal pathway credits right there. You can see in the green, a personal pathway credit is basically any class a student takes that aligns itself with their high school and beyond plan. So maybe they said they want to go into the military after high school, and that's their plan. They might do 1 fine art. They might do a leadership class for a personal pathway requirement, because in the military we might want to be leaders. We are stepping up. And then their other 2 credits, maybe they're going to take extra PE classes to get ready for boot camp, or maybe they're going to take some personal finance, or maybe their goal is to be a mechanic in the Army. So maybe they're going to do 3 personal pathway credits at Snow Owl through their auto tech program. So if you are confused about these, I think this graphic really shows really well how to interpret that. But if you're still confused and need some clarification, totally fine. Just email your counselor. And then finally, the 4 elective credits. 4 credits can be anything. So if your student's going to take an extra science, an extra math beyond the 3 required, that's going to go into general electives. If you take a 4th year of world language, maybe 3 of those credits will be your personal pathway, and that 4th one will be a elective. So we do have classes that only count as general electives, but everything above and beyond the required areas I just talked about can also count as general electives. Step 2, so that was step 1. We asked your students to really give some thought about graduation requirements and where they are in that process, which leads us to step 2, the needs and the wants. So we talked a lot to your students today about classes that they need versus classes that they want. And basically what we need going into junior and senior year is English and social studies, probably some math, maybe some science. If we're sophomores going into junior year, we definitely need math and science, and PE if we haven't done that yet. And then we want to look at our beyond high school plan and see, do we need world language? Do we want to take some AP classes? If you're thinking about applying to a competitive university right out of high school like UW, they're going to want to see AP classes on your transcript. So if that's not your cup of tea, maybe UW isn't the best place to be looking, because they will want to see that or college and the high school classes. And then this other document, which I do have to share, is, let's see, there we go. This is what we sent home in that mailer last week that came to your house with that cool yellow flyer with all the QR codes on it. We also sent a credit evaluation for your students. So it would have, probably up here has your student's information and your student's name. It'll have your advisor's name. It has a GPA. It has credits needed to graduate, credits completed. And you'll notice on here, we had to explain to our students, this form that we sent home was updated in October. So it was before we posted grades for term 1 and term 2 this year, which means that if your student passed all their classes so far this year, you're going to want to add 3 credits to this total completed, because we've earned 3 credits so far, or had the potential to earn 3 credits this year so far that aren't reflected on this sheet. But you can see this form just goes down and shows the different credit requirement areas, same as the other one, but this one shows which classes your student took to meet those requirement areas. And then it shows how many requirements are left in the remaining columns. So we have required, completed, in progress, and remaining. So this is something that we gave students because we really believe it's going to help them consider their choices and figure out what it is they need to graduate. And I'm going to try to find out how to get my presentation back. There we go. Oh, it was just there. There we go. Okay. All right, thanks. This is the stuff we were dealing with now, right? COVID, technology. This is like our favorite time of year because we get to see all of our students, and it's like the one time a year we get to see all of our students. And it's just been really hard doing it with all this technology and a computer in between us, but here we are. So the other thing I wanted to point out on this slide is in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see something called the World Language Competency Test. If your student already speaks a second language, we know lots of students have lived abroad in the military, and lots of students have moved from other countries. So if you think you speak a second language fluently, see your counselor, because we can offer a test for credit that would allow you to get world language credits on your transcript without taking the world language class. It would be a competency test credit. And then Running Start and Snow Owl. These are two application programs that are available to our juniors and seniors. So if you're a 10th grader and you've been looking forward to being a junior for this reason, it is your time. The first one, Running Start, that due date is May 1st. We will have a Running Start information night soon. I think we can probably at the end of this presentation give you the date. I think we were still deciding on the date before today. But the due date is May 1st. So if you're thinking Running Start, been getting a lot of emails about it, and I think people are panicked, like, I gotta know now. We have plenty of time to talk about Running Start and figure out what that's gonna look like, whether you'll go full-time or part-time, and what classes you might take there. If you want more information on that, just click this link and it'll take you to the Everett Community College Running Start webpage. And then for Snow Owl, same thing. This link will take you to their website where you can check out their programs or apply. You do need a SurveyMonkey account to access their online application. So they have some tutorial videos on their webpage that show how to set up that account and how to complete their application. Their application window, their priority application window closed on Friday, but they know that Lake Stevens is doing registration this week, and they know we send a lot of kids to Running Start. So if you're thinking Snow Owl, submit an application. You can still submit an application anyway, but I have a feeling we'll all still get interviews for our kids applying this week. There is an interview required for that, so something to keep in mind. And I think on that note, I'm going to hand it off to Mrs. Wickland. And I need to quit sharing, don't I?
Hi, everyone. I'm going to go over the next slide in the presentation is about our course planning guide. And so I just took it right to the link so I can show you guys what you're looking at. This is what we showed your kids today. This is our old school course purple book that we used to give your students at registration. And if you are a 10th grade parent, your student last year had to register this way because of when COVID shut down schools. So you have a little bit of familiarity with this, I would assume. The link takes you to everything you might need for graduation, for registration, for after high school planning. The best way and place to start would be at registration. When you click on registration, here are the links for you or your student to schedule an appointment with us. Each counselor has their own appointment link if that's what you're looking for. I also told the students today this 4-year course worksheet is something we had in our course book for kids. Some kids really just like to write down what they're doing. You can print this off and they can fill in kind of their plans for the 4 years. It's kind of nice. In the drop-down menu of registration, there are directions and links. And so in here is a link to the presentation you're watching. There's also a link to the registration forms that we'll go over in a minute for the students. And then it also shows like pictures of what that registration should look like. So it's kind of helpful if you're like, I don't understand what's next. Hopefully some of this will answer that for you. However, I think most of these documents and links are going to be accessible through your student's email mostly. So make sure that your student is hopping on their Chromebook and checking this stuff out. The most important part on here that I told the kids is the course descriptions. This lists every single course we offer at the high school. It is sectioned out into subject areas, and it also has Snow Owl and Running Start links and information in it too. So if you're not finding those links somewhere else, you can find them here as well. But just for an example, when you're looking at your English choices for next year, if you go to the English section, we have this crazy graph of arrows, but hopefully a way to help you find what your next class choice should be. The classes are listed alphabetically. So when you're looking for a certain course name, you have to look alphabetically to find it. We have all the course requirements, prerequisites, and then descriptions listed. And some of the cool things I think that are helpful, we have designators if the course is going to be a college in the high school course. We have a designator for dual credit, which is a CTE college opportunity, and AP. So it tells you if that course is an AP course as well. And then we also have little videos linked from the teachers so the kids can kind of see what's going on in these classes to make some better decisions about stuff they might be interested in. So there's a lot to look at. So essentially what I told the students today was take some time to dork through this planner and really read stuff and look at stuff and listen to the videos and find the stuff you really like and want to do for classes next year. On top of that, there is the graduation requirement tab that will walk you through all the stuff we're talking about. And so for those of you that were looking at that presentation thinking, I can't see that document, it's nice and pretty and big and clear here. So you could look at it and print it off if you wanted to tell you what I tell kids is how to get out of high school. And then we also have our planning stuff under this tab. So any of the stuff for after high school planning is here. So lots of information worth your time to kind of work through and look at. And that is that for that part. So we can pull back up the presentation, because next I'll go through a little bit of the non-credit requirements your student needs for graduation. We have a few, which you guys probably are already aware of. So one is Washington State history. Every student has to pass Washington State history. If you've been a Lake Stevens kid your whole life, you have taken Washington State history in 8th grade. If you are new to our district, you will take Washington State history, or you'll take an equivalent during your junior or senior year of history. So no panic if you moved here from Texas yesterday. The next non-credit requirement is community service. And so we're trying to work through our community service right now because obviously we're in a bit of a weird time. What students were told today was that if they have had community service completed already and haven't turned in their forms, to please do so. If they're currently doing some sort of community service, make sure that they fill out a form and turn it in. However, for safety reasons, we don't want to encourage students to go out and find community service if it's not safe for them. And we will update you when the district has more information about what this requirement will look like in the next couple months. The next is a complete a graduation pathway. And what that is talking about is it used to be only a state testing requirement to get your diploma, but we've added some other ways to meet those requirements to earn your diploma. So it says pass the SBA on there, which is the state test that we planning on giving. And so if your student doesn't pass the SBA test, then there's other ways they can still meet that. And they're listed below, like take an AP course, take an SAT test and get a certain score on it, maybe take the ASVAB test and get a certain score on that. One other way that I think is pretty cool is they can have, if they have 2 credits or 2 years of courses in the same CTE pathway, that can meet this requirement for them as well. And so I'm going to give a second to have Mr. Tidor unmute himself to kind of give you guys the lowdown on that CTE cluster for a pathway.
Awesome. Thank you, Mrs. Wickland. Yeah, so CTE graduation pathway, we're very lucky in Washington State because House Bill 1599 passed 2 years ago and opened up graduation pathways for students. So rather than, as Ms. Wickland said, just passing a state assessment, we really found opportunities for students to find choice in their graduation pathway. And one of those, which I'll talk about, is the career and technical education pathway. What this is 2 credits within a single program area. And so that would be something that's listed in the course descriptions on the course planning guide. And if you had that open, I could show it to you, Mrs. Wickland. And really, our courses are divided into what's called program areas. And these program areas are based off of career clusters, or how we would describe of what occupational outcomes are available for students through these courses. So when we divide out our program areas, you can see the courses that are available in each program area. Now, again, to complete the CTE graduation pathway, a student has to meet all of their graduation requirements, as well as those 2 credits within a single program area. So I'll give you an example. If a student really wanted to be, say, work in nutrition, or they wanted to work in the food service industry, we have a couple courses here at Lake Stevens High School that would be truly beneficial to them. They could take Culinary 1, which is a full year. They could take Culinary 2, which is also a full year. And after they've successfully completed both of those courses, and since the student's occupational outcome is within the restaurant industry, that would work. So remember, 2 credits within the same program area, and it has to align to the student's high school and beyond plan. So that's the great thing about CTE graduation pathways. It's not just taking classes just to take classes. These are really opportunities for students to strengthen their skills and their network opportunities to build their experience in that specific program area. So the program areas, as you can see there, we have business and marketing. We have STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We have skilled and technical sciences. We have health sciences. And we also have family and consumer sciences. take some time, look at that course planning guide. If you have any questions, my email's on the website, and I'm happy to help answer any questions that you may have. Mrs.
Thank you,
Wickman.
Mr. Tidor.
You're welcome.
And the last requirement for your student is called the High School and Beyond Plan, which I'm sure you've heard about lately because we've been talking about it to them. They are required to maintain this plan and update it each year. And so at registration, we choose that time to kind of talk to your students about this since they're planning their courses already. They have 4 things that are super important for us to have checked off, but beyond that, there's a bunch of stuff within this High School and Beyond Plan that they can take advantage of. So we went through with them like the profile questions, their post-high school goals, their 4-year plan, and we also asked them to upload a resume. We've offered to help them with that if they haven't already done one in one of their courses. We'll obviously help them update that as they get older so that when they're ready to apply for scholarships or college or even jobs, that resume is ready for them. This tab has a video, and on our course planning guide, there is a video with directions on how to access your High School and Beyond Plan. Counselors and Mrs. LaFortune are here to help if your student runs into questions or has trouble with it. And in the end, the counselor and the student will go through their High School and Beyond Plan and make sure it meets their needs and is fitting what their post-high school plans are. I think we can go to the next slide. There we go. So after we talked about all the stuff you have to do that doesn't have credit, we needed to go through with the kids what they do need to take for credit. So I'll let Mrs. Chilson walk you guys through how to actually register on Skyward.
Thank you, Mrs. Wickland. Yeah, so this is actually 2 steps for this last part. And we do ask that students enter their requests into Skyward. And then the next slide, I'll explain about the Google form. But what I told my students today is I thought it might be helpful, and sorry if you don't mind going back 1 slide. I thought it might be helpful for students to have the course planner up and have that tab open. And then also open their Google form before they start entering their classes into Skyward. A lot of students I saw today writing down the classes that they wanted to take. Some of them were asking the questions, and some of them were emailing me if they were having any issues as they were starting to either fill out the Google form and or Skyward. So just to start with Skyward, when students log into Skyward, they can click on schedule, then they click on course request 2021-2022. It's going to be towards the top right of their screen. And then they're going to add the classes. And I suggested that they have the course planner handy because sometimes that can help them find the course codes and numbers if they're having any trouble just figuring out what those classes are. They can also use the Google form to just help remind them because you know, I don't know about some of you guys, but sometimes I hear stuff and then I just have to see it one more time. And it's all there on the Google form, what they should be signing up for next year. So some of it is even like a drop-down menu, pick this class or this class. And we really want students to pay attention to that. So however you organize, you know, your requests or what you're hoping to take, you will eventually add those into Skyward. Most students have done this over the years a couple of times, but of course, if there's any hiccups or if your student has any questions, then please email us and let us know. Sometimes there are some things we have to tweak. So it really helps us if you let us know what's going on if you're running into an issue. We also ask to put a lot of importance on the alternates that they choose. If students only put in the 6 classes that they're going to take for next year and no alternates, then that kind of puts us in a bind if there is any kind of scheduling conflict for the choices that they wanted first. And so if they give us some alternates, that gives us some idea of what they may want to take instead if we can't fit everything in. We really encourage students to reach out to us and keep talking to us about their schedule. So even though registration is due on the 19th, if they ever have any questions, we're a quick email or phone call away. So when students are done on Skyward, they just click on the X. It feels wrong, but it's right. I promise it will save. So if your student is like, oh no, this is gonna delete my work, we promise it won't. It should be in Skyward. and then your requests are there. If something comes up and if your student decides to change a request like the day after the deadline, just have them contact us. We're here to answer those types of questions and make adjustments if necessary. So if you can go to the next slide for the Google Forms, as you probably saw in the course planner, these links are available under the registration portion of that site. And so the registration forms, like I said before, will help really guide a student. These were the paper forms that your student used to bring home, and you would sign and you'd look over and you'd talk with them about their choices for the next year. And so we hope that you do the same thing as your student has this Google form and is filling it out. This is also a place where we can go back, and if your student made an error possibly in Skyward, or if something happens where the requests aren't clear, or if there is a scheduling conflict, we can go back and look at what their original requests were. So it's just a really good backup for us. And so we ask students to do both in order for their registration to be valid and to be completed. Okay, I think I'm done with slides. Is there one more of mine or no? Oh, okay, thank you. So you do have, like I said, students were asking to do both the Google form and the Skyward requests. And as it says on the bottom there, failure to do both could void your request. So we will be reaching out with two students who haven't done this by the deadline. And please look for our appointment links. We are really happy to meet with your student if they're struggling with any part of this registration process. So we're really happy to help, and we love the opportunity to actually maybe even see them through Google Meet or talk to them on the phone, you included. So thank you so much. And Stephanie is going to tell you what comes next for your students.
All right, Ms. Ribley, can you move one slide over? Yeah, thanks. All right, so what's next? So, wow, we know that we as counselors spent just a ton of time talking at your students today. This presentation that you're seeing right now, if your student is with you right now, they already saw this from their individual counselor. In some cases, we went into more detail. Maybe sometimes we summarized a little, but this is the second time they're seeing this. You're probably feeling a little overwhelmed right now. Your student might be too. That's okay. We know we threw a lot of information at you. We know we were going to do a lot of talking in this weird online format. That's why we took today to set up. Basically, we ran through this presentation with your students, and then we stayed on, and any students that had any questions in that moment, we were there and we answered those live. It sounds like all of us counselors have been answering a ton of emails all day, but we're also already available. We're going to get back on those Google links tomorrow, and we're going to be available for more questions. So now that you've had the time to digest some of this information, your student has had the time to digest some of this information, you guys can come together. You can talk, you can look back over those transcripts and reports of graduation requirements that your student has already earned, maybe work on that for your course planning sheet together, talk about what your student wants. And you know what, if you have any questions, like Ms. Wickland and Ms. Chilton said, our webinar is back online. This video is going to be online for you to view at any time. Here's a link for our individual appointment calendars. So that's here in the presentation now. Those can be found on the registration page. You can also find those exact links are the same links that are in each and every one of our signatures in our email. So if you just click on that link that says, if you want to set up an appointment for Mrs. Lewis, please click here. Just click that. We each have, basically we've set our whole days aside, the 17th and the 18th for the most part, for nothing but questions for your students. We know it's going to be crunch time. We know people are going to have time to explore different options. So we're there, we're available. Please do keep in mind, especially with email, we are experiencing an incredibly high volume of email questions right now. So especially if you think like, oh, you know what, this is a really confusing thing, let me email my counselor. It's also possible that we might have to take a beat and go look something up for you. Go ask a colleague, go check with someone at the district. So if it's taking a little longer than normal to hear back from your counselor, please give us a little grace, and just know we're working through to get all of your guys' questions If it's been 2 days and you haven't heard, go ahead and give us a gentle ping. Hey, just making sure you got this. You know, we are a little inundated right now, but please know, like, registration's our top priority right now. And we're here to answer your guys' questions, okay? I think that's about it. I want to say the last slide says, yeah, thank you. And I'm gonna kick it back to Miss Ribley or Miss Ivelia. Somebody's gonna wrap us up here and open us up for questions.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody for presenting and also remind parents too that tomorrow is it was day one, as Mrs. Lewis just said. We were just starting this process, and today was the brain dump on everybody. Tomorrow, we're going to meet with your students again. I know it's a non-structured school day, but we still plan on seeing your students during 4th and 5th period. If they have questions, tomorrow we'll be focusing on walking them through the high school and beyond plan and helping them update that. We'll be helping them fill out their registration forms or pick classes, whatever they need. So it's show up tomorrow and work day or ask questions day. Go ahead, Miss Ivelia.
Thank you. Thank you to the entire team. And I think Ms. Lewis shared it really well, and that is the fact that this can be a little bit overwhelming. It's a lot of information, and you can see that I sent lots of emails today with the intent to keep you informed, but also with email overload and the amount of information that is being shared electronically. We've tried to do our very best to put the date and say that it's updated information. Our team tonight has given you a very good broad overview of all of the information, but we recognize that some of the information for your students very individualized and specific. I think it was Ms. Chilson that shared, please don't panic. We have the opportunity to work with you and make changes as needed. And as Ms. Lewis shared, the influx of communication is also significant on our end. So without further ado, we just want to continue to work with you and open this opportunity for some question and answer. This is where we're going to do a shared responsibility, and I'm going to ask you to go ahead and think of what questions you might have and use the Q&A at the bottom of the screen to go ahead and add your question. Again, for personal and private reasons, we don't want you to put something that's maybe personally specific to your child. However, there could be some questions that are beneficial for the whole team to possibly answer, and we are more than willing to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and start, and I will read the questions out loud. There's already some great questions, and then our team will look at the Q&A and either answer them in live session, but please team, don't clear them. I'll be the responsible one to clear them once I've seen that we've answered them. It looks like Ms. Grindy is going to share with us the very first answer, and that is, when can we sign up for the ASVAB? Ms. Grindy?
So ASVAB, you can take it anytime. You have to sign up with a military recruiter right now. We usually are able to offer a testing session at the high school, but obviously right now, due to COVID, we can't do that. But if you wanted to take it now, or your child wanted to take it now, they could make an appointment with a local recruiter and do that. We hope to offer it next year. And usually it's in February.
And thank you. The next question I'll be responsible for answering, and that is, are you planning for school to be in person anytime soon, is what I'm adding. I will answer that, as you know, the district is in current planning for returning to a hybrid plan and in-person instruction for our K2 and our K5 and our K, I believe it is 8. At this time, Cavallaro and the high school are definitely in discussion to be able to look when and if we can return in a safe manner. And it is definitely a part of our goal to look at when we can do that for in-person and hybrid instruction. So thank you for that. I unfortunately cannot give you an answer, and it's not because I don't want to give you an answer. It's simply because I don't want to mislead you or give you an answer that I can't speak to be true. So it is true that we are working and will continue to do that to make sure that our kids can return in a safe manner. Thank you for asking. The next question, if we are planning on getting into Running Start, do we still need to register for classes? When and how do we meet with the counselors to go over getting into Running Start? Thank you, Ms. Wicklund.
The answer to that question is that you still need to register for classes at Lake Stevens High School while you're applying to Running Start. And then once you are accepted into Running Start and have a plan for courses there, we can change your registration with us. And to get a meeting to plan that, all you have to do is click on one of those links and schedule a meeting with your counselor, and we can go through the why you should and shouldn'ts of Running Start and make a plan for you.
Thank you so much. Okay, and the next question is, when entering classes in Skyward, how do you designate which ones are alternate selections? Ms. Ribley?
So that's a good question. Students will be able to see there's two different. The first tab they're going to go to is course requests, and that click and add your classes. And then once they do that, they'll go back and there's a tab that says alternate requests, and they'll click on that tab. Alternate classes are usually numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's how you can tell that you've requested those as alternates and not regular classes. Your regular classes won't have a number next to them. So we will be working on that tomorrow. So if your student wants some more guidance on that, have them attend their registration session tomorrow, and we will be definitely working on that piece of registration.
My apology, I did skip a question. I thought that we were typing the answer to that. And it was, if my student only needs 5 credits, does he have to take 6 classes senior year? Yes, you need to work individually with your student's direct counselor. We don't have abbreviated schedules. And so it's important that if you have that our question, please work with your student's counselor for us to be able to work with you to determine what's the best situation for that. Thank you, Ms. Ribley. And Ms. Wickland is going to answer the question, is there any information on ORCA? We know the ORCA program is a great program. Can you help with that, Ms. Wickland?
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, ORCA is a Running Start program at Everett Community College that goes through in cohorts. Yes, there is information on the Running Start links that we gave you and in our course planning guide for ORCA. And they are always part of the information sessions, whether we're running it or whether the community college is running the info session. All of that information is available on their website, and you can go to a live info session to learn more if you want.
Thank you so much. And this is a great question. Nobody's taken the ability to answer it, so I'm going to ask Ms. Grindy for you to consider it. And that is, do you have to take the SBA test if your student already takes AP classes?
The answer is no, but yeah, they can get credit through the AP tests for the high school pathways that I think Ms. Wickland was showing. That is one of the ways they can for AP. Remember, you have to do math and English, but yes, you can get credit through an AP test.
And I would also make sure that you work directly with your student's counselor to make sure that you don't have assumptions that something's going to work and find that it doesn't. It's really important that we work collaboratively in partnership on the grad requirements. And as you can tell, there's different pathways as Ms. Grindy shared, but we want to make sure that we don't have any misses for your individual student. Also, what is the deadline for completing community service hours? You heard us touch on this evening, and I recognize as the school principal, I'm working hard to get an answer that would help you. It is still currently a 45 community service hour responsibility as a part of our grad requirements. It is true, however, with the impacts of COVID closure last year and COVID safety procedures this year, that obtaining community service hours is a bit more difficult. We do, as they shared earlier, anticipate seeing a reduction in the number of hours. However, it is important that if you have safe ways to obtain those hours, this year, you should, as a senior currently or a junior working to be a senior, really only have about 15 hours to complete, or if you're a junior, maybe 30, because you do 15 each year. The deadline is prior to graduation, and each year that deadline changes. For any current seniors, that deadline is prior to graduation, but it hasn't been announced. And I apologize for the delay. It's not intended to keep you hanging. It's actually in part so that we communicate at one time as many of the changes that we anticipate seeing for our current graduating class of 2021. Thank you for that question. And I also saw that someone said, I don't have a question, I just want to thank you. So in case the team didn't see that, I wanted to make sure this team on this panel saw it, but also thank you to all of the parents that are on the panel tonight and your students. We genuinely mean it when we say that it's been a pleasure to work with you. And while it's not been easy, the partnership has made it a lot easier. We'll continue to do that moving forward. Will SAT tests be offered this year? Ms. Chilson, thank you for taking tag in that.
Yeah, and there was also another one that I'll just kind of lump those two together if that's okay. So SAT tests are available. They do have on the College Board website. If you just Google SAT College Board or put collegeboard.org and click on the SAT, you can find the dates that it is being offered. So SAT is still available. We are generally telling students to please check with the colleges that they are interested in for either in 1 year or 2 years, because some of them are already announcing that they are test optional, not just for the current seniors who are applying, but also for years after that. So this would be a good time for your student to email admissions and check in with colleges that they have considered or would really maybe like to attend someday. So yes, the SAT is still happening. They do have a place on their site that you can just check for any like test location closures. And the other question that somebody asked was, when are the PSAT, SAT, and ACT tests? We are not offering the PSAT this year. We hope to, of course, open it back up again next year and offer that to students. So that is something that we have in the past offered at Lake Stevens High School to a limited number of students who, we can actually have the space to give testing for. SAT, we do not offer at the high school. So that is something that students and parents go to College Board and sign up to do on their own. Same with ACT. And like I said, you can find SAT dates. I believe the next one that students can sign up for is in March. Then there's a May and a June date. So those are on the collegeboard.org website or act.org.
Thank you, Ms. Chilson. One thing I wanted to state is we are scheduled to be on here till 7 p.m. tonight with you, and we'll continue to answer some questions. We do have quite a few of you still with us, and that's great. I do want to let you know that if you don't have questions and you want to just stay lurking and listen from the questions that are being asked, that's great as well. If you would like to log off because you found that you're done this evening, that's fine as well. Just so you know, there was a question that was asked, is how do we get access to Google Slides of this presentation? Ms. Wicklund, you might add to this answer, but I'm going to start by saying during this presentation, I did have a schedule and send email that went out with all of the links accessible to you for our website. The counseling tab on our Lake Stevens High School website is solely directed around registration. Our handbook this year is a website format, so that also is available. I did include the link for the slides, and I believe, Ms. Wicklund, you were going to say that it's also, I believe, on the website. Is that accurate? Yeah.
Yep, that's right. That you said everything I was going to say.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Wicklund. All right, I'm going to go back to the other ones. So you're on next, Ms. Wicklund. How do we get advanced courses from 8th grade brought up to show in our graduation requirements?
All you have to do is reach out to your counselor. We have a form to fill out with you. So we fill in the classes you want to pull up and what their grade. Oh, Mrs. Chilson has it in her hands. And so it's pretty simple. Just shoot your counselor an email and ask about it, and we will get it taken care of for you.
Thank you. And Ms. Ribley, if my student doesn't interview for Snow Isle until February 24th, how do they know whether or not to register for Snow Isle by February 19th?
Good question. I will also add the link to that middle school transfer form in our chat. So if you want to click on that, you can download it. And then for Snow Isle, yes. So Snow Isle, what we are having students do is register for 6 classes at the high school. So pretend that Snow Isle and Running Start for this part of the process. Once your student has gone through all the interview process and we get confirmed placements later this spring, counselors will go back into the system and change the elective choices to Snow Isle, whether it's AM session or PM session. We'll put that in your schedule. And then same with Running Start. Once you go through the Running Start application process and advising process and you're ready to pick classes, we'll go in and delete your requests in Lake Stevens High School for the classes you're not taking at the high school. So register for 6 classes and be able next year. We will fix it later.
All right. And how do students go about completing the testing requirements for graduation, SAT, SBA? I think that Ms. Chilson answered that lumped together. Was that part of the answer we've already given? Ish, do you want to?
Yeah, and I would also add that a lot of schools are dropping the SAT, ACT requirement right now because of COVID. Testing centers aren't readily available the way they usually are. So if you're going on to College Board to register for an SAT test, you might find that nobody around here is offering one. I had a student fly to Idaho last month because he found they were offering the test. But it's just because of the pandemic, colleges all over the country are waiving this requirement for last year, for this year. Some are waiving it indefinitely. I was telling students today, the UC system, UC schools in California, which are pretty competitive, they've decided that they don't have a use for the SAT anymore, that it's not really helping them the way that they wanted it to. And so they've dropped that requirement forever. It's not that a pandemic thing, it's just a UC school thing. Kim or Emily, do you have anything to add with that? Sorry.
I would just say that look for the wording testing optional, meaning that if somebody does have an SAT score or an ACT score that they want to send in, the college will look at that. It is not a requirement for most colleges right now. And if you're not sure if that will still be true in 2 years, then it's always good to check in with the admissions representative. So I don't know if Kim wants to jump in too, but that's, I just worked with a student today, and we, I had her email, but we found the email for the admissions rep to Western, and she was going to check in to see if when she is ready to apply in 2 years, that will still be the case, testing optional.
And if I might add, one of the things that I do is I have those colleges come in and do presentations, or this year we did them virtually, and they update us every year on that. UW is one school that has made it testing optional for the foreseeable future. So I don't imagine that they'll change that. So it is happening at a lot. So yeah, rather than fly to Idaho, if you know that you're applying to UW and Western and some other state schools, check with them first, for sure.
Very good, thank you. Do world language credits count for college or for high school? And if for high school, does my student still need to choose another third language to finish during high school as a requirement for college? Ms. Ribley, thank you. Mike. We've only been doing this a little while.
So when I click on that, it goes away. So I'm trying to find, I'm trying to find the question to see, because it's a long question.
Do world language credits count for college or high school?
Okay, so they count for both. So they count for high school as an elective or personal pathway requirement for graduation. And then for college, most universities require 2 years of the same world language in a progressive order. So Spanish 1 and Spanish 2, or French 1 and French 2. You can't get away with Spanish 1 and French 1 as your 2 years. It doesn't work that way. So I would say world languages count for both. They count for credit at the high school, but for admissions requirement at college. And if for high school, does my students only choose a third language to finish during high school's requirement? I don't know if you mean third year or a third language. So you don't need 3 years of a world language for university admissions. Some programs at UW will require a third year, but you can take it on their campus if the major you're applying to requires a third year of a world language. I think, does that answer your question? Maybe if not, you can contact your counselor directly if that's more of an individual situation, but unless another counselor has.
Or if you have an additional question to the extension of that, please go ahead and add that back in the Q&A.
Yeah,
and
for
we'll come
sure.
back to it. Question was, if my student was in Link Crew, do they get community service hours? Ms. Chilson?
Yeah, and I might have Ms. LaFortune jump on too here in just a second to help me answer this. But we're so proud of Link Crew leaders. We essentially asked them to come together on a Google Meet before most of us had even really tried out Google Meet before. And they did such a fabulous job with their groups. They all showed up and they had great attendance. And so yes, they will get community service hours. We have called on them to communicate some stuff out to their sophomores and new students, but they may be playing a bigger role. All of that obviously depends on a lot of factors. If we are able to, have more in-person type stuff eventually. So just so you guys know, yes, that does count as community service hours, and I'll let Kim answer to how that gets added.
Typically at the end of the year, I send a list of our Link leaders and their hours over to our community service liaison, Terry Hopkins, and she inputs them for us. So the kids do not have to fill out a community service form because we have over 95 of them. I think we have 96 this year. So.
And I want to use this as another shout out. As Ms. Chilson said, and Ms. LaFortune is one of our advisors, our kids did a phenomenal job this year in a world of heavy lift and doing it different. So those hours are definitely earned and they are serving our Viking school community. And I just want to make sure on any community service hours questions, Ms. Grindy helps oversee that, but Ms. LaFortune just mentioned the name Terry, T-A-R-I, Hopkins, who is a great place to be able to connect. And since I'm on that question, I'm going to come back to the other one, but someone said, let me see, where was it? I think it was already answered around community service, so I won't come back to that. No worries. Thank you for doing that. Do you have to take the SBA test? Nope, I already answered this one. Is AP English literature class offering college credit next year? Mr. Alderson?
Hey, Danielle, it's a great question. We always are looking to increase our partnership for college and high school classes. We're working very hard to see if we can make that happen. I wish I could give you a promise, but I just can't at this point. The good news is that it is AP, and if a student takes the AP exam and passes it with a 3 or greater, then they'll be able to get college credit at their university, but currently not connected to college and the high school.
And I do see that community service question now. It's where and how do our students turn in community service hours? That does go through Ms. Hopkins, again, H-O-P as in Paul, K-I-N-S, and she is the one that can answer questions. That's where you turn in your hours. And one of the questions is, what if I was a sophomore currently? You said 15 hours each year. That is correct, and that starts your freshman year. And so again, we recognize that that's been highly impacted, but we also do have some ways for students to safely earn credits, such as our Link Crew, and that again is only open to certain members right now, but there's some other opportunities. Mr. Tidor and I worked with a group who is working to get mask materials out to students who are interested, and they will be distributed through our resource distribution. And it's an opportunity for you to not only learn how to make masks, but also donate those masks to an organization of your choice. And all of those are outlined as one safe way to be able to earn some hours. So please do reach out to Ms. Hopkins if you have questions. She's more than willing to help and will provide what available resources we do have in regards to earning hours. For the world language follow-up, yes, here it is, Ms. Ribley. So my student has English lessons now and is going to choose English AP or 101, depending on running start, I believe. And she has 4 credits for world language. Does she need to learn a 3rd language for college admission? We're planning to schedule a one-on-one with the counselor. You're muted. That's okay. So the question is, do you need me to reread that? The question is for world language follow-up. My student has English lessons now, is going to choose English AP or 101, depending on running start. She has 4 credits for world language. Does she need to learn a 3rd language for college admission?
The answer
Oh,
is
she's
no.
got 4 credits of world language. Good. Done.
I would say that a 3rd language is an amazing skill set. So
We do have students that take a 3rd language. It is not required. I would say probably not even encouraged unless it's like something you've got a burning passion to do.
Yes, it is correct that community service hours start in 9th grade and it's 15 hours per year. I'm sorry, at the conclusion of 9th grade, my apologies. So the summer of your 9th grade summer, you can start collecting them. Thank you, Miss Amber, for correcting me. And so you can start collecting them the summer of your freshman year, and it is 15 hours for your sophomore, junior, and senior year. 45 hours total. My bad in the math category. My apologies also, Monica, my son did community service hours freshman year until they didn't count. My apologies, I did misstate that. It is the summer of your freshman year that you can start collecting those hours. You are more than welcome. I'm glad that we were able to make some clarifications. It looks like we've answered all the questions that have been added to the Q&A. Mr. Alderson?
So sorry. So something with Katana, your internal computer setting makes your messages appear like 3:22 in the morning. So they keep getting dropped to the very bottom. So I'm so sorry we have ignored your question twice. It was not intentional. We will answer your question about Running Start and the SBA.
And it is, and thank you, because I couldn't tell what was happening. It keeps getting repeated and it was coming to the bottom. Miss Rivley is more than welcome or willing to answer. Katana, I am in the 11th grade and in Running Start. Do I take the SBA? And if so, when do I take it and how?
I'm actually going to invite Mrs. Grindy to answer this one.
It's hitting all of us because Sal said he would answer it as well. Right now, we don't have the ability to give the SBA, so we don't anticipate it, which is why we are continuing to recommend that you look at the other pathways, and we're waiting both from the state and the federal government to make decisions on exactly what is going to happen. But as for right now, we're all doing the best we can and looking at other pathways, but you don't have to worry about it right now.
And again, to all of our Vikings that joined us, there's definitely less of you on the screens with us or the attendees right now, but we wanted to thank you. We have come to the concluding portion of our evening, but I want to thank you for your questions. They also helped us clarify things for fellow classmates and families. Again, our counselors will be working religiously, although they have been all year, but especially now to attend to these kinds of questions, and the communication has been shared. We hope that it's all at your fingertips, but if you are unsure or uncertain, please do reach out. And that does include Ms. LaFortune as our career guidance counselor. She is here to help you as well. And she may not be able to give specific answers to transcript things, although she can help get to those answers. And Ms. LaFortune is also working with our students on high school and beyond planning. So she's a really strong resource when it comes to getting that help, which is an important graduation requirement. So I think we've come to the conclusion of our evening, but before we sign off with everybody, team, is there anything that needed to be shared for closing from any of you? No? All right, again, this has been recorded. We thank you so much. Our goal was to be clear and concise and provide you the overview that was needed. We'll be spending time again with kids tomorrow. I will say it's been a joy for us to see their faces. Your kids have been so great, and many of them shared their faces with us today. We're used to seeing some of their thumbnails, and so today when I popped in, it was so exciting to see those kids. So thank you so much for sharing with us. Thank you for being here this evening. Thank you again for your questions. And without further ado, we're going to wish you the absolutely greatest evening. And I can't go without saying it is a great day to be a Viking. Thank you, team.